Hey folks, Keith McGowan here. I am the Outboard Dad here to help you have a better boating experience. Can't talk, but I can work on motors. Anyway, just wanted to go through a couple things with you guys today before I complete this 250 horse rebuild. As you saw in our last video, we got the crankcase cover on. Really all we have left is to get the heads on there and bolted up, and then we're going to paint this block for the customer. And really, that's really it. It's not a whole lot left to do with this. We're going to clean out the heads really good, put the new head gaskets on. I'm not going to pull the head covers off. You take a chance of breaking bolts and stuff like that, and there's good water flow through the motor, so I typically don't do that. But I did keep it covered up here and make sure we don't get any junk inside the engine or drop something in there that I'm reaching up over here or something like that. So we were going to jump right into that. Next, there's a piece of gasket still stuck on where my fuel pump goes. Anyway, we were going to jump right into that 4-stroke motor next, but let's get this one completed. Don't forget, today's video is brought to you by the Ansel MR500 diagnostic tool. You can click the link in the description below for the Outboard Dad discount for your diagnostic tool for your Yamaha outboard motor and or Wave Runner, if you so choose. So what do we got left? We do have a little bit of that sealer kind of oozed out the sides when we tighten this up. So I'm going to go ahead and clean that up a little bit. Just going to take an old crummy rag and my little screwdriver here, and I'm just going to scrape it off, just the excess, just so it doesn't get sticky all over the place while he's putting stuff back together. It's not a whole lot. There really shouldn't be a whole lot, but it is evenly dispersed throughout, so we want to make sure we make it nice and neat for him. And we want to continue that conversation that we started. I still have guys coming to me wanting me to do these 2-stroke rebuilds. And, you know, they look at the cost, they weigh the cost. Actually, this guy said, you know, on Crowley Marine, you can buy a rebuilt block. And I said, that's up to you if you want to do that. You know, I have certain techniques and things that I do. I don't know how they're doing it there, but I started doing this myself because of issues I had at different machine shops. Not really doing the proper job and having problems with the blocks over time. So kind of went through that with him and he agreed. And again, the cost of replacing that motor, it is a 2006, so it's coming up on 20 years old. And the cost of getting, you know, even if it's a 115 or a 130 4-stroke motor these days, you know, he's going to be spending, you know, I don't know. I'd have to look it up exactly, but I'm going to assume like 12 grand. He's not going to be able to use the controls that he has. He's going to have to get new controls. You have to pay the marina to mount that motor as well, or else you won't get the warranty that comes with it. So, you know, you add all that up, he's probably somewhere around 15 grand. You guys let me know what you think. And he's just like, I'm not willing to spend that much just for a motor right now. And you'll see his motor is cleaner than this one that we rebuilt. So let's go ahead and we'll flip this block over. I am going to tape off some areas. Actually, I'm going to tape this off now because I want to make sure my little gear for my oil pump doesn't accidentally come off. We do have the keyway here that I can put back in. Actually, I'm going to put this in a little plastic bag with some other small parts for Brad. But I'm just going to put the keyway in so I can grab this with a pair of pliers and just turn it over. Since we put everything together, we just want to make sure everything turns over nicely. I'm also going to look to make sure our oil pump gear is moving, and it is. So it's really nice and smooth how everything goes together now, and everything's spinning nicely. So just a little quick test. So let me get a little plastic baggie here. I don't think he would want the old seals, so I'm just going to throw them out. But I have this, and there's a little rubber grommet that came with the, that was in there for the poppet valve. So we'll make sure we save that. And I'm going to throw this in my little parts bin for now, and we'll keep it aside for Brad. So let's get this flipped up while we continue that conversation about, is it worth it? So I'm going to tape this off here. I'm going to get some masking tape on here so that everything stays clean. Also going to tape it off because we're gonna paint this too, so make it look pretty for them. Probably switch to my other gloves now. Put these gloves aside. Yeah, fuel pump gaskets, I'm going to have to get them. There's a little bit of residue left, or a little bit of gasket left from the fuel pumps, and we want to tape off those areas too, because that has to use that pulsation from the engine for the fuel pumps to work. We'll tape that up. We don't want any dirt getting in there. We're going to tape this off too, because this block's going to sit for a little while until he has a chance to come pick it up. Brad is a federal government worker, so right now government is shut down. So we're going to give him some extra time to come and pay for this because of our wonderful government that can't get along ever. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. They can never get along and figure anything out. It really is good. So let me trim this off a little bit so we can paint around it. So I just want to keep those holes covered up, because that does go into the engine. Now let me trim off here where our looks like that's not sticking too good. We're going to have to clean that off a little better. Get some brake cleaner on there. So this is the kind of little stuff that you do, you know, when you do a rebuild. Make it nice. Might as well go ahead and clean this off too, because we're going to tape. We want the tape to stick to this and stay on it for a long time. It's funny how the tape stuck really good on those connecting rods, but we're trying to get it to stick here and it doesn't seem to stick. That seems a little better. Probably just had a little of my builder's lube on there. So this will keep it clean. Also, we're going to paint this so the paint will hopefully stay stuck to it really good. I'm also going to tape up my crankshaft here. Sometimes I'll take a cup and put it over it if I have one that fits nicely. Right now I'm just going to wrap some tape around it because we're going to put this aside and spray it up before the end of the day. So I got everything taped off now, and now it's going to get a little tricky because it gets heavier and heavier as we move forward here, and I may have to get the hoist out. Would be nice to have a hoist right above this bench. When I first started rebuilding outboards, I didn't have this shop. You know, it took me years to build up enough cash flow to get this shop, and it was pretty amazing because I had a shed, a 12 by 8 shed. I put an I-beam in the top of the shed. I built the shed with a really high roof and a 8-foot door. And I put an I-beam across it with 2 parking lot poles that I got for free off of a job site they were throwing out. It had a chain fall on it so I could roll them in. And then the chain fall, you know, was right above, kind of half above my bench, half above out front of my bench so that I could swing motors in and out and everything. So would be nice to have one here. Maybe one day I'll have to think about that because I really just been using the engine hoist to put these in place. And I'll probably get the engine hoist out anyway, and I'll probably roll it outside just to spray it up once I get everything put together. So really now it's heads. So I guess I can leave the block like this to put the heads on. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to clean the surfaces again. We have our one new piston on this side. So I'm just going to, let me bring you around over here. So I'm just going to take some brake cleaner, and now I want to make sure I don't spray inside the cylinders because I want to make sure the lube is in there. I don't want to lose that lube, but I want to make sure I have nice, dry, clean surface. If you remember, we went through this with a straight edge after we cleaned it up to make sure that everything was straight and even. So I'll even spray a little on my rag here. So I want to make sure I have a good seal around everything. All right. Some oil probably got on these surfaces, so we want to make sure we keep them nice and clean. Okay. Now, I'm not sure how much we cleaned our heads. We'll have to take a look at them. Let's see what they look like. We may have to, we'll probably most likely we'll get them in the parts washer, but let's see. Yeah, we're definitely going to have to clean these up. Now, I know I cleaned the surfaces, but we're gonna clean them up a little more and get this in these both in the parts washer. Yeah, they're in really decent shape, right? This is the one that had the bad cylinder, I think. This is the top, so it would have been, nope, that one says 115. This one says 60 at the bottom. So this was the one that had the bad cylinder. A lot of times it gets all beat up and everything because it spits a ring, but let's wash these up in my parts washer really good. And we'll flush a bunch of parts washer through. We'll also clean up the outside here. This way our paint will go on nicely. What I like about this parts washer is it cost me 50 bucks. This is like a couple $1,000 parts washer if you buy it new. It has a heater in the tank and everything, and all that had failed. The pumps, it came with 2 pumps. I don't know if either one of them worked or not, because I had an old pump from my Harbor Freight one that, believe it or not, still works. So that's what I'm using. And it has the 2 nozzles, so I can, I can cut this one off and get more flow out of this, or I can back off on this a little bit and get less flow, and I'm not splattering all over the place, right? So I like that I can do that. So once I do this cleaning, I'm going to go ahead and flush some through the water jackets just to make sure it flushes from one side to the other, which is easy enough. I can actually just let this one flow through and see it come out the other side as it dumps out nicely. It fills up and runs through, so it's so you can see this. All right, so I just have the fluid running through here, so I can see it coming out the other way. So that'll flush that nicely. So now I'll go ahead and shut it off for a second, because these aren't fully rubber gloves. I don't want to get totally immersed in this with my hands right now. But we'll just give this another cleaning with the emery cloth. We did clean this up once already, but it's been sitting for a little while, so we'll just make sure everything's nice and clean. We put the straight edge across it, made sure that was all good. So this is pretty much ready to be sprayed off. So I'll spray it off with some brake cleaner. Make sure everything's nice and flushed. Give it one more time here on the outside. Now our workbench is nice and clean because we cleaned it off when we, of course, did our block. So let's spray this off with some brake cleaner. Be a good idea to put some safety glasses on again. Get the next one ready in here. Nice clean spot on the bench. So you always get a little more here and there. Cleaning up. Go ahead and wipe this down. one's ready to go. Let's clean this one up. Same process. Come to think of it, I think I took the old spark plugs out and gave them, either threw them out and gave them to him, one or the other. I would have saved those to put in the holes while I spray painted, but let's put this in here so we can flush through to the other side while we're cleaning. And that fills up that entire head and flushes it out. Which is nice. Now I'll go ahead with our sand cloth. Make sure we get it nice and clean. Give it another flush. Now, what goes through my mind as we're doing this is, you know, what is this process going to be like when we do the 4-stroke? And I know I've been talking about it for some time now, and I am going to get to it, I promise. We do have another 2-stroke motor that a customer wants done, so you know, the feedback I keep getting is that people want to keep their 2-strokes going as long as they can. And when they're weighing the costs, if they can get theirs running. Now, the other thing is I'm realizing it's mostly mechanics or tradesmen that I'm doing a lot of this work for, and maybe they have a little more understanding or something, I don't know, or maybe they have a little more trust in the older stuff. I'm not sure if that plays a part in their thinking at all. That's the end of that can. Do go through a bit of brake cleaner when we do this. Well, let's wipe this down. So pretty straightforward now. We're just going to give another quick spray to the surface here just to make sure we got everything nice and clean. And then we're going to get our head gaskets out. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my head bolts and I'm going to line them all up here. Actually, a couple of them a little crusty, so we're going to run them on the wire wheel real quick, and then we'll put this together. Okay, got all the bolts cleaned up. I did put a nice thin layer of oil on all the threads. There's a couple things before I start grabbing my head gaskets and starting to slap stuff together we want to look at. Number one, we want to make sure we're putting the correct head on the correct side. Now, if you remember, one of them had 60 pounds on the lower cylinder. So we did remove some of those markings, but I have enough of a marking to know which one was the one that had the low cylinder, right? Which is this one. This one said 110. So this is the one with the low cylinder at the bottom, and it's down here. So I know not only the orientation, not only that do I know, but I also know which side it goes on. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this one on this side so I don't make a mistake with my marker. And make sure this is my new one. Just going to put a little X in there. The other thing I'm going to do is there are 2 bolts that are shorter than the rest because threads are higher on the block. So let's see where that is. Right here is one. So I'm going to make a mark here on the side of the block and a mark right there. So I know that one. Now the other one looks like it's here. So now I know where my shorter bolts go, because if I put a longer bolt in there, it won't go all the way in, and if I try to force it, I'm going to break it. And how do I know that? Because I've made that mistake before. I don't want you guys making my mistakes. So we're just going to take a clean look over again, make sure everything looks like it's ready to go. Some little bits of terry cloth towel stuck in there, but nothing major. Looks like my 2 short bolts only go on this side. The rest of them are normal because I can see that the threads start at the top of the hole instead of deeper in the hole, and that's how I can see that. So let's get some gaskets out. So also want to look closely at my gaskets to see. And 9 times out of 10, the way these go together is this seal, right? There's a red sealer kind of around it, typically goes on the head side 9 times out of 10. There's no instructions that come with this that tell us that, but that's the way most of these end up going together. Now I'm going to put one aside because I don't want to get it dirty. And we're going to start with the one that I know needs the new cylinder. So we're going to go ahead and get this ready to go in place here. And get a couple bolts. They're ready to go. They have a little bit of spray on them, not crazy lube, because I don't want the lube to get into the process there. So let me just take a look at this and make sure we put this on the right way. And we'll get a couple bolts through the head in through the gasket. Now I also drilled out all of these holes because they do get a little corrosion in them from time to time. And I'm just going to get this set up with these 2 bolts so we can line it up. And now we can go ahead and get this one in place. And they should go in really smooth like this, right? If you're fighting these bolts, you don't want to be fighting these bolts because you don't want debris in the holes. You want to make sure the threads are nice and clean. If you remember when we were cleaning this block, we put a little tap on the end of my drill, and I went through every hole, and then I sprayed out every hole with brake cleaner. And I actually put a little lube in each one when I did that to loosen up any of the junk that might have been jammed in there or corrosion that might be jammed in there over the years. So we can go ahead and put the rest of these bolts in. And then we're going to look at the book to see what the torque specification is. Now these are 12 millimeter bolts. So let me get the rest of these in and get them set, and then we'll get our book out for our torque specs. Hey, the other thing that's nice about these Yamahas is typically they put the sequence in numbers right here on the block. So as I said, usually starting from the middle and working our way out. And we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So it's clockwise pattern. The other thing I just happened to notice I want to share with you is, remember I said there was a couple of shorter bolts, right? But you can also tell because the head of the bolt is different when it's shorter. So when you see different things, you got to say, hey, something's different. Let's make sure we do this right. So let's check the book. go back to our specifications page here, and let's see what it says for head bolts, cylinder head bolts. 250 horsepower, says 28 Newton meters. Yep, head bolts, 28 Newton meters. So these bolts are not really crazy strong. They're not, you know, something like the connecting rod bolts are a lot tougher bolts. So we want to make sure we don't over torque these at all. We want to make sure they're torqued properly so the head gasket squeezes the way it's supposed to. So we'll go ahead and get these torqued up now. Where was number one? Right here. So now I want to do this way so I can see my gauge. So I'm going to go to like 15. 15. And we'll keep working our way around the way it shows us. With the numbers. You know, 15, and then I'll probably go 20. And we'll torque it down the rest of the way. Then we'll get the other head on. Okay, I got them all to just about 25. Now we're going to do the final torque following the pattern. I did 15, then 20, then 25. So we're really close now with 28. Number 2. 28. Number 3. It's kind of a clockwise pattern. 28. 4. 28. 5. 28. 6. 28, 7, 28, 8, 28, 9. There's 20 bolts on here. 8, 10, 11, 28, 12, 28, 13, 28, 14. Oh, that one's sticking a little bit. There we go. 15, 28, 16, 28, 17, 28, 18, 28, 19. That will stick a little bit too. 28, 20. All right, so this one's ready to go now. I think what I'm going to do is I have some old spark plugs up here. Just going to jam them in there just for spray painting so I don't get any paint inside the cylinders. And we'll leave them in there too because, you know, we don't want any critters climbing in there in the meantime or any moisture getting in the cylinders. So now let's get the other head on. Get the other head gasket. We know everything's nice and clean, so let's get the other head gasket ready. Again, I'm going to put that sealer side against the head. And we'll start with these. Now I have my marks here, so I'm going to start with these 2 top bolts first. get these in. Like I said, these should go in nice and easy. You shouldn't have to fight with these. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the shorter bolts that I marked, and let's make sure I put them in the right place. 1, 2, and then the rest of the bolts can go in. So before I crank any of these down the rest of the way, I'm going to kind of align this a little bit. There is a little bit of up and down play because we have everything loose right now. But I want to make sure when we tighten this down, we tighten it down as centered as possible. So what I like to do then is I have kind of this one kind of finger tight, and then I'll get a catty corner one kind of close. But I'm going to hold my hand underneath it here. I'm just going to pick it up a little bit, kind of halfway between up, completely up and completely down. Now I know we're centered, we can get the rest of them in. So now I'm going to follow the rest of the number pattern on this. I'm going to follow my 1, 2, 3, 4. Might as well start a good habit, right? Like I said, they should all go in nice and smooth. And if you've cleaned everything, they should. Number 8, this one's number 9. Pretty much completes this rebuild. It's ready to go now. We're going to go ahead and spray it up, make it look pretty, just to make it look good. Also to seal off everything, right? We scraped some of the paint off some corroded areas on the outside of the block, mainly down the bottom where our poppet valve is, and where it meets the midsection is kind of usually where it gets some corrosion. So we're going to spray it all up, make it look nice, also protect the outside of it a little more. And we're going to torque the rest of these bolts down, and this one is done. So that's complete. I don't know what the number of videos was. I started counting part 1, part 2, and just lost track because I'm doing too many other things right now. Suppose I could count them up or put them all in a file or something. I don't know. I'm a mechanic, not a computer guy. But anyway, please like, subscribe, send any comments that you have. I promised we were going to do that 150 Suzuki next, but Marty, I want to help out Marty. He seems like a good guy. Came here, gave me a deposit, dropped off his Yamaha 2006 two-stroke motor, and you're going to see how clean this motor is. It's been well maintained, but he got water in the cylinder, and what he did, he's a mechanic. Don't know what kind of mechanic. I know he's done refrigeration work, but I don't know what other stuff he's done. But he hooked up his hose to it and have his borescope in the bottom cylinder, because his bottom cylinder had some rust on the spark plug inside. So he got it in there, and he saw a little water squirting into that cylinder and believes it was coming from the head gasket. So the first thing we're going to do, he already cleaned up the surfaces. We're going to get our straight edge on there, and we're going to disassemble this motor and look for cracks and everything like that. So this one is complete. We'll get that Yamaha done and out of the way. We'll make a couple videos with that so you can see that. So now you have two-stroke motors. One of them is the same year as our 150, and this is, I think it's either a 115 or a 130 four-cylinder. So we'll have a good comparison on what it's like to tear down and put back together each one. So please like, subscribe, send any comments that you have. Don't forget that this video is brought to you by the Ansel MR500 diagnostic tool. And don't forget my used outboard motor and don't forget my used outboard motor buying guide is for sale on Amazon now for $20. For a limited time, I'm still offering if you send me proof of purchase at keith@outboarddad.com. It's not an in-depth guide for any specific motor. It's just a grab and go for the basics that you need so that you don't spend too much money on your motor and find out you have major issues later on. So this is a compilation of all the tests I've done and all the things I've found, the top things that I've found that people have missed when they're buying their outboard motors. So please click in the description below for your Outboard Dad discount for your Ansel MR500 diagnostic tool. And we'll get this head taken care of, paint this up for Brad. It'll be put away in storage until he has time to pick it up. And then we'll get into that next build. So have a great day.